Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FP&A Trends Webinar. My name is Larissa Malnichuk. I'm Managing Director at FP&A Trends Group. And just before moving, I would like to ask my project managers, is everything all right? Everyone can hear me, everyone can see me.
Everything all right.
Thank you. Welcome. So the subject of our today's webinar is Insight Crystal Ball, Top 7 Trends Shaping FP&A in 2023 and beyond. Amazingly, we have more than 1,000 registrations today from 65 countries. The majority of people are coming from the US, 21% from Europe, but practically from the whole globe. I will be facilitating this webinar for today. And let me remind you very quickly about the agenda. So we are looking at the trends that are shaping FP&A, and we will look at them from 4 different sides, from the processes, technology, people, landscape point of view. We will have time for some discussions and conclusions and recommendations, and of course for Q&A session as well. Very quickly, I would like to do this introduction of our esteemed panel, our international panel. I would like to ask my panelists to join me with their camera and microphones, and we will start with very quick introduction. Please join me here. Fantastic. So I can see Abdelrahman, Roberto, Tom, Diana is here as well, and Diana will join us today only with the microphone. So let us start with this quick introduction. With us today, we have Diana Groschap, who is VP FP&A Europe at TD SYNNEX. She's going to talk about FP&A acting in uncertainty, and Diana is joining us from France. She's a member of our FP&A board in Paris, and she has so many years of experience. Diana, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Larissa, and happy to be here.
Welcome. The next one is Roberto Di Matteo, who is joining us from Amsterdam, our Amsterdam FP&A board member, a country CFO at Takeda. And today, Roberto is going to talk about latest analytics trends for year 2023. Roberto, you are welcome. Welcome to the webinar.
Nice to be here, Larissa, and welcome everyone.
Thank you, Roberto. Let's move on. And this is our panelist from New York, Abdelrahman Selmi, Director Supply Chain Finance at Unilever. Abdelrahman is going to talk about 2023 people trends in FP&A. He's New York FP&A board member, speaker, and also more than 13 years of experience in different areas of finance. Abdelrahman, welcome.
Thank you, Larissa. It's great to be here with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are moving on to the western part of the US. Tom Peff joined us from San Francisco. Tom is director at Workday, our technology sponsor. And Tom is going to talk about FP&A Technology 2.0. A lot of experience in different areas of analytics, finance, financial analytics, FP&A. Tom, we are happy to have you here.
Likewise. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're sitting. But yeah, look forward to it. Let's get into it.
Fantastic. So you can see international panel, great companies. Let us move on. You can switch off your cameras now. I have just a few introductory slides. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much to our technology sponsor, Workday, for sponsoring us. Thank you so much for supporting us. A little bit about FP&A Trends Group. I'm happy to say that we already have 29 chapters in 16 countries on 4 continents, the names you have here. We continue with FP&A Insight through our digital community, our website and webinars, and our LinkedIn group and FP&A Trends Digest as well. What we started and developed really well for the last 2 years is our research and our advisory practice as well and workshops. This webinar will be for 1 hour. quite interactive, not only with the panelists, but also we would like to invite you to send your questions. And we would like to invite you also to participate in our polling questions, in our surveys. And of course, after the meeting, you will receive the recording and the PDF version of this presentation, and all of this will be there. Just a few introductory slides that I would like just to give our insights from over 63 meetings, both digital and face-to-face, that we had at FP&A Trends Group. So our webinars and our face-to-face meetings. The biggest trend at the moment is agility. The agility obviously requires for us to be very proactive, to drive actions and insights. And this is the slide for you just to share the results from FP&A Trends survey. Unfortunately, this is the last 4 years. You can see that FP&As continue to spend a lot of time on data collection, on data validation. So in particular, last year, it was 45%. And only around 33% of time is spent on insight generation and driving action. So this is about the agility, but then running scenarios, scenario management, this is the huge ultimate goal for many companies, and it continues to be like this for the last 2-3 years. Then looking at what is happening around the globe, only 19% of companies are really flexible and dynamic, and almost 50% are really struggling with scenarios. And scenario, how quickly they could be. This is the measure of agility, definitely. So the biggest trend continues to be scenario management. And for us, scenario management, it's not just scenario planning. This is the mindset. This is the processes that allow this to happen. Best-in-class scenario management should be flexible, dynamic, practically in real time. We should be able to run this at different levels of organizations, but also to see the result at different level of organization, and so on so far. So let us move on. And now I would like to invite Diana Groschap, VP FP&A Europe at TD SYNNEX. And Diana will give us, will share with us her experience on how to act in uncertainty for FP&A. Diana, the floor is yours. You're welcome. Let me remind you that it would be just voice, not the camera, because of some technical issues, but we can hear Diana well. Diana, you're welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Larissa, and hello, everybody. I would like to look with you today into the future of FP&A, remembering also the past some years and considering the quickly changing and uncertain world around us. Indeed, in the last years, we went through significant events which impacted our way of living and way of working, but which also, to my opinion, accelerated the evolution of the FP&A function. Being hit by pandemic, supply chain constraints, war in Ukraine, inflation, and other significant political and economical events, FP&As had to react quickly and to adapt to the new requirements on the fly. There was no really school book or training materials for this, so every organization did it in their own specific, but in many cases similar ways. For example, by increased need of latest info, the risk KPI dashboards were created or extended by the critical elements of information. And the frequency of data sharing was adjusted to monitor closely the evolution of the business key areas, like sales, procurement, pricing, and other. The challenges of unexpected impacts were spread through all departments, business, HR, logistics, marketing, finance, so that there was a need of coordinator who could summarize the information from different sources and have general complete picture of possible impacts. In many companies, FP&A stepped in to take this role. So today we are more experienced and stronger, but still we have to be ready for the future unexpected events, having learned the lessons. Moving on. So I'm stopping here on some key elements to consider in how to be better ready for the future uncertainties. One of them is monitoring closely the external economical and political situation, its evolution, and seeing related internal impacts. For example, by interest cost increase, we focus more on the credit and receivables tracking, see possible impacts on the cash cycle health. by further inflation growth, consider possible higher payroll costs or probable lower customer demand. Seeing these trends, we should think about how do we interpret it into the company risks and opportunities? Which internal data from which system or department can demonstrate the impacts? Also, is there a need to rework the latest outlooks, adjusting to possible impacts? Or better to have different scenario planning to be more flexible by upcoming changes? Working on these answers to these questions is already today part of the FP&A routine, and for sure will stay as such. But to make this routine efficient, some elements should be in place. For example, modern analytics system and data consistency between different sources allows selective and quick availability of needed KPIs, as well as easier scenario planning. Intensive cooperation between different departments help us to understand the needs of other areas in the organization, but also can provide the internal specific metrics which could be used by need in the FP&A analytics. For example, monitoring of order status with procurement can support in further revenue plans, especially sensitive in the periods of supply chain constraints. HR metrics related to attrition or CMI can support in cost validation and scenario building. Treasury can give more insights into possible impacts during currency volatility periods. Just talking about these some elements, we can see that the active link between FP&A and other departments is a valuable factor in the future stronger FP&A. One more important point, I think the most important one, is the care about our teams. FP&A talents are special, amazing folk, mostly combining finance and technical knowledge, communication skills, and good business understanding. As you all know, such profiles are highly demanded on the market, and our target is to keep and develop them. Pushed to working from home by pandemic, we are now slowly recovering from that isolation phase. We know that we can act distantly and do the job well. But we also realize the importance of human interaction, especially when we are talking about newcomers and onboarding processes. It's not only about knowing what and how to do, but also about team spirit, about quick face-to-face exchange on complicated points, about stronger community feeling by managing the emergency. To put people on top of priorities is a key and will for sure also stay one. To achieve the excellence in what we are doing in FP&A, not to forget to simplify where possible. For this, it's recommended on a regular basis to review the processes, analytics in place, and dashboards in use. Making the inventory of this and getting rid of obsolete data or templates. Stop old inter-system dependencies by implementing the new technologies. Combine processes in overlapping areas. This all together can tremendously help to gain on speed and to be more efficient in adjusting to new requirements and needs. Moving on. With all this, we can be more agile, quicker, more efficient and clear in our data and statements. We can improve the business support and strengthen the cooperation between different areas of the organization, contributing to the company's success as strong as and efficient FP&A function. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Let us summarize some of the trends, and we will go deeper into those trends in the following presentations. So top 7 trends that shape in FP&A. Scenario management continues to be the ultimate one. Extended planning and analysis, or XP&A, when we go beyond the finance to the entire organization with help of technology, process and analytics, and of course people. And of course, technology 2.0, we are moving into the next generation of technology. Let us move on, and I would like to ask all my panelists to switch on the cameras. And we have a very quick discussion. So as what we revealed at the moment, agility in FP&A is the ultimate goal. Ability to place scenarios practically in real time at different levels of organization. In your view, what would be those top 2 practical tips for implementation of agility in FP&A? Only around 30-60 seconds each, and I would like to start from you, Roberto.
Yes, well, agility is quite a broad concept that can be implemented in different ways. A practical example that we implemented in my team and in my country is how we set priorities and the focus of the team. We moved from having a yearly plan where we define a 12-month or even longer time frame with the clear activities, who does what by when, and we moved to a backlog concept that every quarter we reshape the priority, we keep it quite flexible and fluid, and we have this this degree of flexibility which allow us really to be agile, focusing based on what is really needed in that shorter period of frame or time frame.
Thank you, Roberta. Great insights. Abdelrahman, what would be your key top practical tips?
Yeah, so as Roberto mentioned, it's a very wide definition and it can be deployed in so many different ways. One of the things that we are trying to do is to push the accountability and responsibility to the right person, as well as have them responsible and we trust them to deliver. And we manage this rather than in big, long meetings, but rather in more of a stand-up fashion, stand-up meetings, what we're calling stand-up meetings, shorter sessions where we come in, give a quick update without too many details on how is the progress of that project or that specific area, trusting that the right expert is in control of that topic that we're trying to change and impact. So it's just that 15 minutes meetings is so important to make the things very quick.
Thank you, Abdelrahman. Tom?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to have to kind of side with Roberto here. You know, one of the things we've seen and employed directly is the notion that, you know, this sort of idea that you could get away with a single monolithic plan and that there's any certainty about that's what's going to happen, you know, is just sort of nonsense to, you know, this day and age. And so you see, like Roberto's talking about, you know, backlog priorities, projects that have, you know, dollar signs and price tags and these are above the line and we're doing them, and these are below the line and, you know, depends on things. You see a lot of bull bear cases going out to, you know, stakeholders, boards, banks with, well, you know, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but if it looks like this, this is what we'll do and this is how we'll react. So a lot of, you know, predefined trigger points and that kind of stuff, as opposed to kind of like the single monolithic, here's what it is.
Thank you, Tom. And Diana, the last very quick update after this discussion. What would be your top tips?
Yeah, as mentioned in my session, speed, clarity, and agility are the key factors in the FP&A efficiency. So with this, if I have just to pick two tips as priorities, it would be to concentrate on the new technology implementation and business partnering intensivation, because the implementation of the new tools will allow easier scenario planning, give more accurate and quick business evolution projections, better analytics, as well as allow us more efficient support to business by quicker reaction on changes. And business partnering intensivation by closer cooperation and exchange between different departments gives us better helicopter view by the analysis of the trends, and with this gives better insight of risks and opportunities areas.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone, for those quick updates. We are moving on, and this is the time for our polling question. And we would like to ask all of you to participate. I'm launching the polling question, and it's all about what are the important factors for ability in your organization. So I'm launching this now. And I would like to ask you to vote. I'm sorry, so just let me, I think I didn't launch this. Can my project manager please launch this, relaunch this again? I'm hiding the results. I think we need to launch this now, yeah? Technical problem. Technical problem, we will do the next one. So I wanted to find out what are the most important practical results we need. And I can see that by mistake, I closed the poll early and we can't relaunch this. I will ask my project managers to solve it. We can do this at the next session. But let us move on to the next presentation, yeah? So we are looking at the latest analytics trends at the moment. And Roberta Di Matteo, country CFO at Takeda, join us with his insights on latest analytical trends. Roberto, the floor is yours. You're welcome.
Thank you, Larissa, and good day, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. Well, let's move to the presentation with the next slide. I will start this my part because Diana has shown how the FP&A function is constantly evolving, and I would say that probably the analytics component of the FP&A is evolving even at a faster pace. Today, I would like to share with you some of the key trends that I believe will shape the future of analytics, from the increased use of technology to the growing importance of ESG, meaning environment, social, and governance factors. This trend, I believe, will have a significant impact on how we do business and how we take financial decisions. I see we have some technical problem here, but I mean, I can present also without the slide, but in case you guys can move on, I'm to my first slide. So when we talk about analytics, there are three dynamics which I observe in the pharma sector where I work, but in general in the FP&A function across the industries. The first dynamic is the scope expansion. Finance analytics will go beyond the financial metrics. There is a need to demonstrate sustainable value, which is determining an expansion into non-financial reporting, where the ask for finance is to create transparency and compliance on ESG. Here, the key trend that I would like to highlight is the sustainability analytics, so the focus on the environmental part of the analytical trend. The second part, the second dynamics which I would like to highlight is the deeper connection with the business driver. We're used to P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow. And this financial traditional dimension will be more and more connected to the business variable, which are specific to the sector where our company operates. Both in planning and actual, I believe structured and certified financial data will have to be integrated with the non-standard business variable to support the business decision and the effectiveness of the decision that we take. This will translate into the trend of a prescriptive finance and inside an analytics 2.0. Last dynamic is the technological enabler. Artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, automation are not anymore remote and abstract concept. Actually, to give you a challenge, part of this presentation that I'm giving you has been written by an artificial intelligence algorithm, which I just had to review. And actually, I can also challenge to detect which part has been wrote by an AI algorithm. Imagine what will happen when AI will be integrated inside the tool that we use for analytics, reporting, and planning. This is happening. It's not just a faraway future, and it's quite exciting to live this period because the technological enabler will be a key component of our FP&A in the future. Today, we will focus specifically on the first two trends, sustainability and connection with the business driving, but let's keep in mind the technology because it will be a crucial component. So moving to the next slide, we will start with sustainability, which has become a critical issue for companies and investors as well. More and more internal and external stakeholders are asking to demonstrate sustainable value through ESG. And as such, sustainability is becoming important not only for obvious social or environmental aspect, but also for the business itself. Here, the finance function can play a crucial role in ensuring that our company is making informed decisions that take into account not just the financial performance and the traditional finance aspect, but also environmental and social factors. On top, moreover, sustainability is gaining relevance also for our daily business because it's a strong lever to ensure that our employees are engaged, where it reinforces our vendor and customer relationship, as well as became a compliance topic that the FP&A has to comply with. One way finance can contribute to this sustainability is through the use of sustainability analytics. This involves using data to evaluate the environmental impact of our company and to identify opportunity for improve this footprint. It can range from tracking the energy consumption and the carbon emission, but also to assess how to optimize this emission and how to collaborate with our supplier, with our vendor and our customer to create a more sustainable economy. FP&A here can play a key role to ensure that there is the right rigor and we avoid this greenwashing trend, considering that today there are not generally accepted standards in the industry, and as such, sustainability analytics can be a key trend for the future, where FP&A can be the driver's seat and ensure that as we ensure compliance for the financial, we have the same standards also for sustainability reporting. Moving to the next slide, we can see the second trend I would like to highlight. Here we are going about the depth of the financial analytics. More and more business function and management are asking to adopt a multidimensional data perspective. What I have been observing is an increased use of advanced analytics to support the decision making, where we merge financial with non-financial data source, not only to describe, but to create scenario and, more important, recommendation for the business on what to do. One of the most powerful form of this trend is the prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics goes beyond simply describing what has happened or forecasting what might happen, because it provides actionable insight and recommendation on what to do next under different scenarios. For example, in pharma, a new business dynamic is omnichannel engagement, meaning the different channels we use to engage with healthcare professional and healthcare stakeholder. And here we can use data to model various scenarios and evaluate the outcomes of the action that we take. This allows us to explore different options and select the best action based on the goal that we set at the beginning of the campaign. By embracing this prescriptive analytics, finance can become a strategic partner to the business, providing insight and recommendation that drive the performance and the growth of the company. However, this scenario planning and the prescriptive analytics are the result of a journey that starts from data, which is probably the least attractive block of the puzzle. And finance here can play a key driver role in leading the journey from data creation to reporting and eventually insight and recommendation. Because the final destination of these journeys will be to make finance a co-owner of the business and the right hand of the general manager and the CEOs. So to summarize, and we can look at the final slide, the depth and the breadth of finance is expanding. And it's quite an exciting time for FP&A because the scope is becoming bigger, analytics are becoming deeper, and the technology is somehow enabling us to do things that in the past were really unthinkable. So it's quite an exciting timing, and great to have FP&A to have a stronger impact in the company where we work inside. So thank you for your attention, and I will pass it back to Larissa.
Roberta, excellent presentation. Thank you for sharing. And we are moving on with those top 7 trends. On the top of scenario management, extended planning and analysis technology, we are talking about ESG for FP&A, sustainability and insight analytics 2.0, a prescriptive way. Before we move on to our quick discussion, we now have opportunity to share the polling question quickly. And it's all about the flexibility, it's all about agility of your process. I'm launching the poll. I'm launching the poll right now. My project managers showing me that everything is good. I would like to ask you to vote very quickly. Can you choose only one approach? How would you describe your company's approach to the use of technology within FP&A? Because technology, obviously, it's an important part of agility. So please, can you continue to vote? The options are: we implement modern technology wherever possible. We are aware of new technology and implement it on occasion. We are happy with our current technology and don't need any new. We are not looking for new technology, but listen to advice, and we are unlikely to implement new technology. So please continue to vote. I can see that more than 65% already voted. I'm closing the poll and I'm sharing the results with everyone. And we can see that actually 31% say that we implement modern technology wherever possible. It's wonderful. 48% are aware of new technology and implement this only on occasion. 5% are happy with their current technology, don't need any new. 10% are not looking for new technology, and 6% unlikely to implement new technology. I would like to ask Tom very quickly to comment, like 30 seconds commentary. Tom, would you say that it's something that you observe around the world in your work? Are there any surprises, or it's how you see it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think initially with the pandemic, it was a pause and a fight for sort of survival. But as folks have sort of started to adapt to a new reality of needing to implement and navigate change, people, yeah, absolutely, that's put demands on their current systems and stresses, and been a catalyst for change.
Thank you so much. I'm hiding the results. Thank you everyone for participating at this poll. And now it's a very quick discussion. I would like to ask everyone to switch on the cameras. It's all about the new trend, and I hear about this more and more. How is your company currently dealing with sustainability? And what would be your approach? We really have to give this within 30-40 seconds each because of the timing. So we will start from you, Abdelrahman.
Yeah, I would say the focus area for me specifically in supply chain finance is just internalizing the externalities. So Roberto touched on that, on the externalities or the impact of our business on the environment. And it's very important for us to take into consideration, cost those out, how much it costs us and cost the environment, and bring it into the business cases as we are approving them in our operations.
Thank you, Abdelrahman. Diana, what would be your take on this question?
Yeah, I must say that sustainability is an important part of the company strategy and is high on the priority list. And we have corporate citizenship program in place, which includes environmental, social, and governance framework across the global organization. And with our global footprint, we are targeting to reduce carbon emission, increase diverse representation at all levels, including leadership, and also support in building better communities. So, by the way, if you're interested in more details, you can read more about the program in the website of the organization. But regarding the role of the FP&A, what I can say is that with such programs in place, the non-financial metrics gain on importance, as you already heard before. And FP&A can help really here strengthen the data collection process and also ensure consistency of the data, working together with ESG teams. So it will be, I think, important part of the FP&A work in the future.
Thank you, Diana. And Tom, what would be your advice on this? Quick one.
Yeah, I think for us, the diversity and inclusion, D&I, is a big area of focus. The HR team here actually has, we've helped some on the planning side to build models around what they want sort of targets to look like long term, and then measure organizations and groups and departments and kind of hold them accountable to those targets. The other is on the supply efficiency side and monitoring carbon footprint. We've helped a bunch of customers build pretty sophisticated models, oftentimes in reaction to regulatory requirements. Some areas outside the US that are a little further along, I think, in terms of mandating some of that carbon footprint tracking.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, everyone. Roberto, any additional points you would like to add here? Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, maybe just my experience in the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands we took a commitment. We signed a Green Deal to reduce our footprint, and that's the moment where we realized that we did not have internal capability to measure it, and FP&A took really a driving role there. At the beginning, we had to use external support to do it, but it highlighted really the need to have FP&A developing this capability to measure the carbon footprint, and we took it as a learning opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your discussion, for sharing. We are moving on. And now we are looking at the people side, people trends. Abdelrahman Selmi, Director of Supply Chain Finance at Unilever. Abdelrahman, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Larissa. Thank you so much for all the panelists who talked so far. Great insights. And I'm going to be talking today and touching a little bit on the people side of the trends that we're seeing into 2023. As we all know, people and the FP&A team is the most important element of any function or finance or FP&A or the whole organization, to be honest. And it's very important for us to know that it is very top of mind for all leaders, CFOs as well. There was a recent survey done that 83% of the C-suite are focused in 2023 on hiring and retaining talent. And specifically, it pointed out towards the CFOs are very concerned about hiring and retaining talent. Not only that, they see also that hiring and retaining talent in finance is essential to drive growth, which means for us to drive growth means driving profitability and value back to the business. So as we're going out there trying to hire the right talent to drive value for the business, it's important for us also to think of the other side of the equation and think about what the employees values most about this organization. So it's becoming a formula, and we're all finance people, and we need to balance between finding the value and retaining the right talent, hiring the right talent that will drive value back to the business, but also focus on what those employees and those contributors values most about our organization. Without that, it's not going to fit well, and we will be facing a problem that we've been seeing, that it is very challenging to retain and hire people. Even before the pandemics, even before 2019, we've been seeing it because the job market shift happened so fast and so dynamically due to the pandemic, and expedited it significantly. That said, what we can do is, it's very important for us to embrace the flexible ways of working, to ensure that we are hiring the people and making it for them an enjoyable experience. So it's super important for us to embrace the new ways of working, which will be a hybrid ways of working, embrace the flexibility. In my team, we work across the whole US. We have more remote roles right now than before. And those trends are not novel to 2023. We've seen them happening even before the pandemic, but the pandemic just expedited them significantly. It's also very important for us to create that hybrid model, not only remote, because I grew up professionally and learned my job through the human connectivity, through looking over the shoulders of my peers, seniors, managers. So it's very important to provide those moments where the team can come together as a whole and understand a little bit more about their jobs and how can they do their jobs so they can develop and feel that sense of community and in-person connections. So very important for us is how can we add value to the business, but also how to focus on what the employees values most about the business. As I move to the next trend that I'm seeing, which is the roles transformation. And over here, we'll see what we're calling the XP&A, and we can thank our friends at Gartner for coining that term for us. And what I want to say is the trend that I'm seeing happening, and again, it's not novel to 23, it happened even before that, is that there will be no more F in FP&A. Let me pause here just for a second to make sure that it sinks. What I mean is it's not going to be not finance function, it's continuing to be a finance function. XP&A stands for the extended planning and analysis process. But what I like to look at it, it's more of a cross-functional ways of working. And we are seeing, enabled due to the integrated business models, the technologies, and the connectivity between teams, that it's going to be an integrated ways of working between several functions within the organization, whether it's finance, sales, supply chain is at the core of it, marketing, as well as so many different functions across the business. So there will be no more FP&A owning the planning and analysis, communicating it to the C-suite and the board of directors only, but it will be a cross-functional activity where the majority of the functions within an organization owning and delivering on that plan. To enable this, there will be new roles that are emerging, and we will have to make a way for the new professional within the FP&A. There are specific roles that will be emerging during that time, and we have a lot of details for them on our FP&A Trends group as well, if you want to go in more details. But some of those roles will be what we're calling an architect, an analyst. And those are people who understand databases, for instance, and for the architect case, they understand how to build databases, how to connect them between the different systems and programs that are in the organizations. Data scientists as well, how to build those data lakes and connect them. Analyst is the person who understands the trends, can be able to put the charts together and understand what needs to be collated together to tell something, so the storyteller can take it forward to the business. An influencer is a person who will be able to put all of these together in front of the decision makers to be able and enable them to do a decision and influence their decision making. Those specialized skills and specialized roles we're going to see emerging more and more in sub-segments within the FP&A team. Obviously, we know that not all organizations will be able to hire 5 different talent profiles in every single FP&A role. And this is what is making way for what we're calling a T-shaped talent profile. A T-shaped talent profile is someone who knows very well one of those aspects and very strong in it, but also knows enough to be dangerous in the other areas. So as an example, a storyteller and an influencer can be super strong in those 2 skill sets, but at the same time, they know enough about data science or architect or maybe some coding, so they are able to do something with it or communicate with their peers who are supporting them from a data lakes and whatnot to deliver a full end-to-end understanding back to the business. So in summary, it's very important for us to focus on what we're offering as an organization to the potential employees, to make sure that we are offering them what they value most about this organization, to make them, to hire them in the first place and to retain them. And the second piece is to focus on the emergence of the new trends, the cross-functional planning, as well as the new talent profiles that we should go after and hire in our FP&A. That's it. Thank you so much.
Abdelrahman, thank you so much for this excellent presentation. Obviously, there are so many new trends in the roles and in the skills. What we would like to do now, we would like to have a very quick polling question about the agility. So I would like to invite everyone to participate. I'm launching the poll. We would like to understand what is the most important factor for you for increasing agility in your FP&A. I'm launching the poll right now, and I would like to ask all our participants to start voting. So let me repeat the question. What is the first factor your organization should tackle to advance FP&A agility? Is it technology? Is it leadership support? Is it skills and competencies? Processes transformation? Any dedicated resources? Or what is the most important one? Please continue to vote. I can see that more than 55% of you voted, more than 60%. Just a few seconds, I'm closing the poll. And I'm sharing the results with everyone. I'm sharing the results, and we can see that 23% say that it's technology, 19% leadership skills, skills and competencies 20%, processes transformation 30%, and dedicated resources only 8%. I would like to ask Abdelrahman just a quick commentary. What do you think about this, about those priorities?
To be honest, I'm not surprised with the spread between the different functions and the different priorities that we have over here. And it speaks to the harmony and what we really need to be able to drive this agility across the whole organization. We need support from everywhere. We need to hire the right people with the skills and competency. We need to have the right technology, and we definitely need the support of the stakeholders to drive that change, as well as the the transformation in the ways of working.
thank you for your commentary. There are a lot of factors that will increase agility. Just from my side, I would say that definitely understanding your drivers and your fully driver-based models and analytics that can support it. We are going to our next presentation and the last for today. Before we summarize all top 7 trends and go to Q&A session, I would like to ask everyone to continue to send your questions. We will answer all of them. If we don't have time to answer during this session, we will do this after the meeting in writing. Tom Peff, Director of Product Marketing at Workday. It's all about FP&A Technology 2.0. Tom, you're welcome.
Thanks, Larissa. Yeah, and we're thrilled to sponsor the session today. Workday is a vendor most folks know from their legacy in HR, which is sort of where they began. But in the past few years, they've gotten into financials, so have an ERP product, and then by virtue of an acquisition 4 years ago, which is how I joined Workday, of Adaptive Insights, have entered the planning market. So we work now with north of 6,000 plus FP&A organizations, teams across all different industries, company size, everything from sort of Exxon and Microsoft down to small nonprofits and tech startups. If you want to advance into the slides, we can kind of talk. I had the privilege of going last, so everybody sort of teed up all of the trends, but I wanted to comment on how we see some of those reflected and manifested in technology. And the first obvious one is that scenario management. That we actually look at sort of the customer base and activity on the back end. For us, it's called versioning, and essentially how many times FP&A teams are doing a save as function and reforecasting, cutting a new plan. And that spiked 30x, so 30x over kind of the normal baseline when the pandemic hit. Now, it's pulled back a little bit from those heights, but the fact remains is FP&A folks are doing more on a faster cadence, right? So people had to kind of, maybe they got away with a single monolithic annual plan, but now I'm thrust into an environment of not only quarterly, but daily, weekly cash flows. I need to know if I'm going to breach my covenants, kind of thing. And that's persisted, and it drove a lot of demand for faster cadence, which means automation. So it just doesn't cut it to be able to be hucking around Excel templates. Folks had to actually have data movement automated, report generation, et cetera, and be much more nimble and agile because they had to be able to respond to those sorts of things. I think there was a huge demand also for greater scope in terms of the types of scenarios that they're running. So whereas in years past, you're tweaking the margins. Well, what if it's 5% growth, or what about 6%? Well, what if growth goes to 0 and everything stops for 9 months? What does that look like? What does that mean for our cash? People had to launch new products, reinvent their businesses, which means the nature of the models and the dimensionality, the structure, the regions. So, hey, what does closing these offices or moving in this fashion kind of look like? And so that's a bigger ask on the tool and the platform that you're using to execute your models. Matteo, I love that insight around the use of sort of backlog and prioritized lists and bull bear cases, predetermined trigger points and all that. The notion that it's not a single plan, it's a range of possibilities, and then how we're going to react, which is a much more dynamic way to approach the planning process. And that last point, Abdul Rahman, you brought up around the XP&A and the basically sort of popping up of all these sort of diverse models that have math and calcs behind them. So, it's more about not just, we obviously do a GNL forecast and that, FP&A owns, but there's also models that HR is running around diversity, that supply chain is running around, carbon footprint and all these things. So, oftentimes that support comes back to finance as they look for help on that. So that's driven a lot of the scenario management trends and how that manifests in terms of technology. If you want to pop to the next slide, the other one that we've seen, which is nothing new, but has certainly evolved, is the focus on people, right? So, initial pandemic stages, it was around health and safety. How do I survive cash crunches? How do I look at furloughs? What needs to happen? How do I manage through great resignation? I would say, now a lot of that volatility has persisted, but it's more around bow wave analysis as companies look at a weaker macro, environment in the coming year, and what do they need to survive from a profitability perspective, a greater focus on profitability, certainly within the tech sector. You've seen that be the sort of understory and undercurrent for a lot of the layoffs that Amazon, Salesforce, a bunch of big vendors, Facebook have kind of all announced. That great resignation sentiment has pivoted a bit to sort of employee burnout and the quiet quit phenomenon, and how teams navigate that, which becomes really important for finance, FP&A, as we look at what sort of attrition assumptions we do, and an incredibly tight labor market that even with a softening economy, perhaps still very tight for frontline workers, especially, and the workers that we sort of tech companies struggled to hire over the past year or so. And I think if you sort of fast forward one more slide, we get into the big variance reconciliation problem that people planning presents. And that's where that interaction between HR and finance becomes very important. So we may put together a plan about who we're going to hire, fire, lay off, do whatever. Then the rubber meets the road, and there's variance there, right? And so it's incumbent on finance to be able to unpick that stuff and explain it to the organization and reconcile those costs. And that the little picture I've sort of shown there, the screenshot, is sort of the holy grail of what finance is after, but it's very difficult to do, which is there's a plan, here's the actual, talking about the variance. What was the cost of these new hires that we pushed forward, pulled out? Recs that got filled in different locations, got upsized, downsized, horse traded through the process. That's an exercise that's incredibly difficult, and so for us as a vendor, one of the big focuses is on helping some of the automation around that reporting. So how you build position level plans, how those move into HCM and HR tools to get executed, and then how you reconcile and dedupe some of that variance coming back. If you pop over to the next slide as well, I wanted to touch a little bit on the machine learning technology, which, as a vendor, warms our heart. It's something we've been talking about and hearing about for years, I would say, and it kind of feels like it's finally happening. We see a lot of that actually getting into practice in the field with customers. I would say certainly some of the data foundational use cases, so things like transaction matching for journal entries, and some of the alerts that I get on my expense reports if you file the same number twice, and things like that. And then to some of the more maybe sexier use cases around decision automation, decision support. So optimizing sales territories, ensuring that sort of patches are equitable across reps and they have equal opportunity to succeed. And in particular, a lot of the demand forecasting, which is where, in CPG, retail, manufacturing, where a lot of the machine learning technologies, the use of third-party data sets to inform what a demand forecast is looking like. One of the customer, Team Car Care, which is you probably know as Jiffy Lube, is doing a lot of interesting stuff there with footfall and traffic, and being able to forecast who's in what store when and what sort of inventory they need to meet those, to sort of actually centralize some of the function and replace some of the roll up a bunch of Excel inputs from stakeholders. So some exciting stuff, and nice to see it coming to fruition. I think for us as a vendor, the important thing is taking some of the load off of teams. So, I believe we were talking about the data scientists and this, and that's kind of a luxury of LE, large enterprise companies. For a lot of middle enterprise organizations, they don't have data science departments, regions, and so they look to technology vendors to embed a lot of that sophisticated stuff into the products and make it kind of push button. So a bit of a whirlwind tour there, but exciting stuff, and a lot of those 7 trends pop up and place increasing demands on technology. No surprise to see, it was north of 70% of folks were ticking those boxes around turning to technology to help with some of the transition and improve agility. So I see a few questions popping up. Larissa, if you want to kind of open up things more broadly, we can start talking a little bit about some of those.
Absolutely. Hi, Tom. Tom, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for sharing those insights. Because of the timing, we are moving to some key takeaways and questions straight away. I would like to ask all the panelists to join me. And this is the conclusive slide. So top 7 trends that we see right now. We summarize them in this slide, and we also put them into bigger categories around process, technology, people, and landscape. So it's all about scenario management, FP&A, insight analytics, FP&A technology, values and value and values, T-shape FP&A professionals, ESG or sustainability. I can see that Abdul Rahman should join us as well. So do we have you on the camera? Are you there? Diana, are you there? Hi,
Yes,
everyone.
I'm here.
And straight away, we have the first question for you. We are starting the Q&A session. So from those top 7 trends that we identified, what would be the most important ones that you will prioritize for the next 6 months? Very quick answers, please. Diana, we are starting from you. What are your 2 priorities?
Yeah, it's important technology evolution, FP&A, of course, and people. So these are the key trends I would really like to focus on.
Fantastic. Thank you for this. Roberto?
I think the prescriptive analytics and the T-shaped professional is crucial, because without the people and the right capabilities, particularly in data science, the change cannot happen. So I will really focus on those 2.
Thank you. Thank you. Abdel Rahman?
Yeah, I would say all of them are very, very important, but I would start with the one that actually you started with, Larissa, which is scenario management. I think we are in such an uncertain times that requires us to be very agile and flexible. So that will be the one that I'll be focusing on.
Absolutely. The reality is that it's our ultimate goal, and all other trends, they are supporting us how we can get there in reality. Tom, what would be your priority in the next 6 months?
I can't argue with you there, Larissa. Certainly the scenario management piece, for obvious reason that is the essence of agility. But at Workday, we're people company, and so that's really important. And that is one of those big scenarios and what ifs, and that's the biggest lever from an expense perspective that most companies are able to pull. So for us, that's a big one.
Absolutely. So all of them are important. It's all about going through the maturity of your company. We can't walk until we can't jump until we walk. Yeah. So definitely step by step through implementation of processes such as FP&A and scenario management, technology as insight analytics and technology, and of course values for people and T-shaped FP&A professionals. Through this we can move to agile FP&A and plan for uncertainty. There are some other questions, but because of the timing, we wouldn't be able to answer all of them. But we will distribute those questions between our participants, between our panelists, and we will get back to you within 1 week in writing. Let me make some very quick announcements. So our next webinar will be on the 22nd of February. And it's all about the winning formula for integrated FP&A, how we can integrate, how we could be successful with this. Also, we already started, we launched our 2023 FP&A Trends Survey. The link is here. If you can participate, we can share more insights with you. Please do this. And of course, thank you so much to our sponsor, Workday. Thank you for supporting us. For this webinar. Thank you for making this possible. I would like to say thank you so much to all our panelists. Thank you so much, Diana, Roberto, Abdel Rahman, Tom. Fantastic panel from 2 continents, from those wonderful cities. Looking forward to meet you in person very soon. And thank you for sharing your results and your insights with us, not only the results of your knowledge, but there are so many things that we would like to share at our face-to-face meetings and our next webinars as well. And of course, I would like also to thank our Ukrainian admin team that made possible for this webinar to happen as well. We're supporting Ukraine, and part of the sponsorship will go to Ukrainian purposes as well. Thank you so much, everyone. We are staying in touch. See you very soon, and all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.